If you'd asked anyone scrolling through their feed last summer who their favorite couple goals account was, 9 times out of 10, they'd say us, Dan and Ellie, the lawyer and the lifestyle coach. The guy with his shirts always just a little wrinkled and his hair a little too perfect, and the girl who laughed like sunshine. We built a following on vulnerability, authenticity, and the illusion that we were untouchable. And that's the thing about illusions. They only work when you believe in them. It started, as betrayal often does, with something small, something you almost convince yourself to overlook. Ellie had this videographer, Jasper, 28, soft-spoken, a guy who wore black jeans like a uniform and had this uncanny ability to never blink during a conversation. He was hired to help polish our video content for sponsors, but somewhere between the tripod setups and those soft focus edits, he got too comfortable. At first, I chalked it up to creative chemistry. He was around a lot. Always had his camera bag slung over one shoulder like some modern-day knight. But when Ellie started laughing a little too hard at his dumb jokes, or when she brushed lint off his shirt like she forgot I was right there, something in me tightened. Still, I said nothing. You don't get to my age, 37, partner at a firm, 2 books under your belt, by reacting to every itch. But that itch turned into a crawl when she changed the password on her phone. We'd always had this thing, radical transparency. At least, that's what we told our followers. We even filmed a Q&A last fall about how we never hid anything from each other. Ellie said it with this doe-eyed sincerity that made me believe it myself. But when I asked to use her phone to order dinner and she hesitated, just for a second, the lie became visible. She laughed it off. Oh, sorry, I've been resetting all my passwords. You know how paranoid I get about hackers. Except I didn't know that. That was new. Then there were the text previews that never lit up on her lock screen anymore. The AirPods she never took out, even at night when she was brushing her teeth. The way she started accidentally leaving for shoots an hour early, dressed like she was auditioning for a music video instead of filming slow-motion shots of wellness smoothies. Still, I told myself I was being insecure, that I was projecting. But the nail in the coffin wasn't any one thing. It was her glance. That quick flick of her eyes away from mine, like a child caught stealing, followed by that too wide smile. I knew that look. I'd used that look in depositions. It was the look of someone scrambling to conceal something. I couldn't prove anything yet, but I also couldn't sleep. So I did what any man trained to think 10 steps ahead would do. I got quiet. And while she posed in front of our bookshelves for relatable reading photos, I quietly installed screen recording software on the shared iMac in the office. Just in case. I knew the risks. If I was wrong, I'd be violating the trust we'd built, publicly and privately. But if I was right, then I needed proof. Not for a confrontation. For the strategy. I wasn't about to walk into a war blind. And so I waited. And the moment I clicked play on the first recording, everything changed. I waited until she was at yoga, or yoga, as it had become, to open the screen capture files. My stomach twisted with each double click. Part of me still hoped I'd find nothing. Maybe just a harmless flirtation. Maybe she was just being friendly. Maybe I was still the husband she came home to, not the fool she laughed about over brunch. The first clip proved me wrong in the worst way. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I recognized the outfit she wore, tan cardigan, delicate gold chain, the same one she'd posted a coffee date story in. The screen recording showed her logging into our shared Dropbox. I watched as she uploaded a folder marked Preview Reels, Ellie and Jay. She clicked it open and boom, there he was. Jasper, shirt half-buttoned, seated on our living room couch. She sat beside him, way too close. Her legs draped over his knees like this was their home, not mine. They weren't filming. They weren't editing. They were touching, whispering. At one point, she ran her fingers through his hair, then grabbed her phone and took a selfie with him. I recognized the angle immediately. She'd posted that shot as a behind-the-scenes story the same night, just cropped tight enough to keep his hand on her thigh out of frame. The image had gotten nearly 22,000 likes. I kept watching. In another clip, she asked him to help adjust her mic, but the exchange lasted far longer than necessary. Her voice dropped an octave. She laughed too hard, again. Then she leaned in and said something the mic didn't catch, but I read her lips. Let's save that one for our reel. I paused the video. My throat burned. We had built something. We started with nothing but a borrowed Canon and a tripod duct taped to a shelf. Our early content was raw. I'd shoot while she did meal preps, skincare routines, fitness tips. We called ourselves Dual Focus. That was Ellie's name. She always had a flair for branding. I used to tease her about how she'd light up when the camera turned on. But she didn't just light up, she evolved. Back then, Ellie wore hoodies and no makeup and worried that her voice sounded too flat on video. Now she had curated catchphrases, signature poses, and a glow ring set up in every room. She'd become a full-blown lifestyle brand. And me? I was the steady backdrop, the co-star who didn't get his own trailer. And now I was watching my co-star rehearse a different kind of role, one I hadn't been cast in. But I didn't scream. I didn't confront her. Instead, I opened a new folder, labeled it Evidence, and I started documenting everything. Every text she sent that didn't match her calendar. Every story that didn't line up with the footage she saved. Every bank charge to restaurants I'd never been to, dinners labeled content meetings, but always booked for two. I became my own private investigator, compiling a case against the woman I married. Because this wasn't just a relationship falling apart. This was a business, a brand, a life we had marketed as perfect. And in the age of curated reality, no one sees the rot behind the filters until someone exposes it. And I would. On my terms. It's funny how once you know the truth, the past starts making sense in ways you never wanted it to. I started seeing it everywhere, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the quiet control Ellie had weaved into our life like an invisible web. It was never loud. She didn't scream or throw things. That wasn't her style. She was too calculated for that. Her way was soft, sweet, smiling while she twisted the knife. Like that time, I forgot to post our anniversary message on the Dual Focus page. I was knee-deep in casework, dealing with a client meltdown, and she texted me 3 times. Did you forget about us? No post. We can't both be checked out. I ended up writing a flowery caption while scarfing cold pizza at midnight, because otherwise, I knew she'd mention it the next time we argued. Not angrily. Just that disappointed silence she weaponized so well. And there was that fight. Well, it wasn't even a fight about my cousin Tyler. He's a cybersecurity analyst. Sharp kid. He once offered to help us streamline our website security, and she brushed him off. I just don't want any more people in our business. What she meant was, she didn't want anyone poking around in the back end and seeing things she'd hidden. Now I understood why. I started pulling back emotionally. Subtly. Carefully. I still brought her coffee in the morning. Still smiled in our videos. But I didn't hold her as long at night. I stopped asking how her shoots went. I let her fill the space with half-truths while I collected my own. And I built quiet alliances. First was Marcy, her former best friend. They'd had a falling out last year. Something about a disagreement over trust, which Ellie had brushed off. But I reached out anyway. Invited Marcy for coffee under the pretense of wanting to do a reunion video. She saw right through me and opened up. Turns out, Ellie had borrowed money from Marcy for a content project, a podcast launch that never happened. Marcy never got paid back. And when she pressed for answers, Ellie iced her out and painted her as jealous. Classic. Then came Tyler. I invited him over under the guise of discussing online security for our upcoming Dual Focus retreat. He was thrilled and curious. I let him poke around our joint accounts, site hosting, cloud storage. What he found made my skin crawl. Ellie had created multiple sub-accounts tied to our business PayPal. She'd rerouted payments from certain brand deals, ones I'd negotiated, into a personal side account I never knew existed. Tens of thousands of dollars. Hidden in plain sight, just labeled Creative Fund. Tyler stared at the screen, eyebrows raised. Dan, she's been siphoning off your shared revenue for months. I didn't respond. Just stared at the screen. Because now it was official. It wasn't just emotional betrayal. It was theft. Ellie hadn't just cheated on me. She'd robbed me. And she was still smiling about it every time she said, "We're building something amazing together." But now? Now I was building something too. Something she wouldn't see coming. I'll be honest, it took everything in me not to confront her right then and there. But I knew, if I moved too soon, I'd lose the advantage. And with Ellie, you needed every edge you could get. So I smiled. I held her hand. I booked us a surprise weekend trip to Lake Tahoe. Just us, I said, kissing her forehead. We've both been working so hard. She lit up, not because she believed it, but because the optics were perfect. Couples content, mountain selfies, hot tub shots with steamy captions. The algorithm would eat it up. Meanwhile, I was playing chess behind the scenes. Before we even packed our bags, I had already met with a divorce attorney, not just any lawyer, but one of the top family law specialists in the state. Discreet. Ruthless. Efficient. She asked sharp questions, took precise notes, and told me exactly what to do next. Step 1. Financial separation. Quietly. I opened solo accounts at a different bank, transferred my salary, pulled my name from one of the brand affiliate contracts, the one tied solely to her image. Next, I made copies of every major contract we had signed as dual focus, especially those with equity splits, intellectual property rights, and payout clauses. I knew the digital version could be tampered with. So I printed everything, notarized what I could, and stored it in a fireproof box under my desk at the office. Back at home, I played the part. At dinner, I complimented her eyes. I filmed new content with her, smiling, laughing, asking deep, couple questions we pulled from trending reels. But here's the trick. I rewrote the list. I included a few subtle landmines. What's the one thing about us you wish people knew? If you could change one part of our relationship, what would it be? She answered. On camera. Calmly. Casually. Even said, sometimes I feel like Dan gets so focused on logistics and structure that he forgets spontaneity. I smiled at her. You're right, babe. Meanwhile, my lawyer watched that clip and said, that's gold. Because intent matters. Tone matters. Public image matters. Especially when your marriage is monetized. I had also started a shared calendar with her, which gave me easy access to her location logs, appointment notes, even video drafts. And I let her think I was recommitting to our brand. I told her I wanted us to do a rebranding video. Raw. Real. Just us. She nodded, eyes glinting. People will eat that up. Exactly. I even got her to sign a revised content release form for new footage, buried in a stack of fake sponsorship paperwork. She didn't read it. Just signed. That form gave me ownership rights over any footage captured in the next 30 days, including the live stream I was planning. Ellie had no idea what was coming. No clue she was walking toward a stage I had built plank by plank. All she saw was the spotlight. All I saw was the exit. And I was almost ready to walk through it. The trap was elegant in its simplicity, just another branding opportunity, or so she thought. I pitched it as a new couples podcast concept. Unfiltered us. Raw conversations, no cuts, no filters, the kind of thing followers eat up when they're tired of perfection. Ellie loved it. She even came up with the tagline, "Truth is the new sexy." That part was almost poetic. We booked a cozy studio with soft lighting, modern mics, 2 espresso machines for ambience. She promoted it heavily, teasing, Dan and I are about to get real like never before. And I let her believe every word. Episode 1 was all performance. She told anecdotes about our first date, her favorite quirks about me. Then came episode 2, the one I designed for the real reveal. The one I called When Trust Gets Tested. I played the part of the curious, reflective husband. So, I said gently, have you ever thought about what honesty actually looks like in a relationship like ours? She leaned back, smirking. Honestly? I think sometimes we lie to protect the image, and I don't think that's wrong. I nodded, baiting her. So filters, they aren't just for photos? She laughed. Nope. They're for emotions too. I could see the comments already. She's so real. Such honesty. They wouldn't realize the irony until much later. Then I dropped the real hook. I had this crazy dream last night, I said, voice light, that we landed a sponsorship from a tech startup that does deep dive background checks. Like relationship vetting. Could you imagine what they'd find on us? She froze. Just for half a second, a flicker in her eyes. Then she forced a laugh. We're boring, babe. They'd fall asleep checking our records. But the next morning, she was on edge. Checking her phone every 10 minutes. Deleting apps. Whispering on calls in the other room. The tension was visible. Like someone waiting for a siren to go off. That night, I saw her texting Jasper. His name was saved under Yoga Brandon. He wanted to talk. She didn't reply. Next day, I watched her through the glass door of our home office. She was pacing. Then I heard the words that confirmed everything. You can't go public. Not yet. It's not safe. Safe for who, Ellie? She slammed her laptop closed and locked the screen. Later that week, she came to me with fake cheer. Guess what? We've been offered a brand deal, big one. They want to run background checks, though, for compliance. Oh, I said, pretending not to know. That a problem? Of course not, she smiled too hard. We're clean. The next 2 days were a dance of anxiety. She became short-tempered, snapping at her assistant, micromanaging content, flubbing her own lines on camera. Jasper sent her one last text. This is getting dangerous. I'm done hiding. She didn't answer, but I did, using a burner phone. All roads lead to Friday. That Friday, the live stream, where nothing would be filtered, and nothing would ever be the same. The lights were blinding, the air thick with the artificial energy of influencers trying too hard to look effortless. We were at a major TikTok creator summit. Invitation only, streamed live to over 1 million viewers worldwide. Ellie had been prepping for this moment all week. Rented dress, professional hair and makeup, lines rehearsed like a play. She didn't know the script had changed. We were introduced on stage as the internet's most inspiring couple. The host gushed about our authenticity, our journey, our relatable love. Ellie beamed, eyes wide, glowing under the lights. I smiled too, a different kind of smile. Then came the segment I had arranged with the event director weeks in advance. A segment we called Moments of Truth. We thought it'd be fun, I said into the mic, to share something real with the fans, something that's never been posted. Ellie tilted her head playfully. Oh, should I be nervous? Oh yeah, I said. Definitely. I pulled a USB from my jacket pocket and handed it to the tech crew. The screen behind us flickered. The audience leaned in. And then, there it was. Footage from our couples podcast. Only this time, the clip didn't stop at her flirty banter. It kept going. It showed her whispering into her phone, pausing the recording, and saying, "We'll just cut that part. He doesn't need to know about Jay." The room changed. The laughter died instantly. Ellie's face drained of color. What is this?" she stammered, glancing toward the backstage crew. I stepped forward, mic still live. "You want me to keep going?" I asked calmly. "Because there's more." "No," she snapped, voice rising. "That's out of context." I raised my hand, and the next clip rolled. Hotel hallway security footage. Ellie entering with Jasper. Timestamped. Smiling. A second clip. Text messages projected like receipts. Her message: "Just keep a low profile till I figure things out with Dan." The crowd gasped audibly. A wave of disbelief rippled through the live stream chat. Comments exploded. "OMG. Is this real? She's been cheating?" Not Ellie. Ellie turned to me, eyes wide, lips trembling. You set me up." "No," I said quietly. "You did that yourself." I just pressed play. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. "I think we're done here," I said. And then I turned, calm, deliberate, and walked off stage. Behind me, she was frozen in place, surrounded by cameras, gasps, and the slow implosion of the fake world she'd built. Her career was collapsing in real time, one comment at a time. I didn't look back. Not once. The internet didn't just react, it detonated. By the time I got home from the live stream, the hashtag Ellie Exposed had hit trending on 3 platforms. Reaction videos, duets, hot takes, everyone had something to say. But the one person who tried to say the most was Ellie. First came the tears. A shaky Instagram live at 2 a.m. in her bathrobe, face blotchy, mascara smeared just right. She sniffled through an apology to anyone who felt hurt, to Dan, if he's watching, and most of all, to her followers, for being less than perfect. "I'm human," she whispered. "I made mistakes, but I still believe in love." The comments were split. Some offered sympathy. Others weren't buying it. I didn't respond. Not publicly. Not yet. Because I knew her game. Flood the feed, smother the truth in emotion, then reclaim control. She was already in DMs with mutuals, spinning the story. We were going through a rough patch. Dan manipulated the edit. Jasper and I were just talking. Nothing happened. Privately, she sent me 3 messages that week. "Can we please talk? We don't have to let the internet decide everything. I still love you." Each one more desperate than the last. I didn't answer. Instead, I launched a quiet campaign. I called them truth clips, short, calm videos from my perspective. No accusations. No anger. Just context. One was a voiceover of me reading one of her old emails, thanking me for carrying the back-end work while she focused on the brand. Another showed a behind-the-scenes shot of me setting up cameras while she scrolled Instagram, captioned, "Before the lights came on, someone had to build the room." I released them slowly, subtly, never tagging her, never naming names. And it worked. The shift was gradual but undeniable. Comments started turning. "Wait, Dan was doing all that? This hits different." I believed her. "No, I'm not so sure." I followed for her. "I'm staying for him." And that's when sponsors started pulling out. Her skincare deal had gone. The fitness app quietly replaced her with a new wellness ambassador. A boutique fashion line announced they were reevaluating partnerships to align with their values. Ellie posted one last frantic video. Dramatic lighting. No makeup. Lots of sighs. I'm not perfect, she said, but I'm still worthy of love. It got 50,000 views. My last truth clip? Over 1 million. I didn't celebrate. Not loudly. But in the quiet, I felt something settle. A sense that the tide had turned, not from rage, not from revenge, but from clarity. People weren't picking sides. They were finally seeing the real one. Revenge, when it's real, isn't loud. It's legal. Precise. I didn't need fireworks. I had paperwork. Ellie never read the fine print. She skimmed contracts, skipped appendices, signed release forms like they were Instagram captions. And that's what cost her everything. In the weeks following her public collapse, I moved swiftly. With the help of my lawyer, the same one who'd warned me early on, don't go emotional, go strategic, I filed a motion invoking breach of fiduciary duty. Why? Because Ellie had used our shared brand revenue for personal gain and hidden it. The receipts we collected, the diverted funds, the fake PayPal entries, it wasn't just betrayal. It was business fraud. And under the terms of our LLC agreement, which she never read in full, I had the right to assume full control of all joint assets if the other partner acted in bad faith. Which she had. A judge agreed. Within 2 hearings, I was granted sole authority over the dual-focus brand, all linked media accounts, and the remaining funds in our joint business account. I left her the personal Instagram she started in college. That, in the silence of her once loyal fans. But I wasn't done. I reached out to Marcy, her former best friend, the one Ellie ghosted over an unpaid loan and creative differences. We met for lunch. No cameras. Just 2 people who had seen behind the curtain. She didn't hesitate. Together, we brainstormed a new platform. It wouldn't be flashy. No filters. Just honest content about growth, emotional resilience, and healing from betrayal. We called it Second Focus. Marcy ran the visuals. I did voiceovers and scripting. It wasn't a revenge channel. It was a truth channel. Meanwhile, Ellie's page had become a circus of contradictions. One day she was crying, the next day dancing. One post was spiritual reflection, the next was a promo code for teeth whitener. Her brand had lost direction, and people noticed. I didn't have to say a word. Instead, I focused on authenticity. One video showed me hiking solo, talking about rebuilding trust not in others, but in yourself. Another showed clips from the early dual-focus days, overlaid with, when you love someone, build something real. When they lie, build something true. Followers trickled in. Quietly. Steadily. But I had one more move left. The final act. A documentary-style expose. Not a rage-filled rant, not a call-out video. Just a calm, narratively structured piece called The Story Behind the Lens. It opened with a shot of our first viral video. Ellie smiling. I'm holding the camera. Music swells. Then, what you're about to see isn't fiction. It's the story of what happened when the cameras stopped. It included timestamps, messages, testimonies, but most importantly, growth. I didn't want revenge to look like a weapon. I wanted it to look like evolution. Because this wasn't just about exposing her. It was about reclaiming me. And the world was about to see the difference. The video dropped on a Thursday evening, no countdown, no dramatic premiere, just a title card on YouTube at exactly 9 p.m. The Story Behind the Lens, a personal documentary by Daniel West. No drama, no flashy hooks. Just a thumbnail with a photo of the 2 of us, blurry, back when we still believed in us. I didn't tweet about it. I didn't share it to Instagram. But I knew it would find its way to the people who needed to see it. And it did. The first 10 minutes were calm, almost too calm. Black and white clips of our earliest content. A grainy video of Ellie decorating our tiny kitchen. A clip of me recording her as she explained why she wanted to make real love content for real people. Our laughter was genuine then. I let the nostalgia breathe. But then came the unraveling, slow, careful, undeniable. I didn't attack her. I told the story. Step by step. Scene by scene. Audio clips from our podcast where her tone shifted just enough. Timestamped footage of her entering hotels with Jasper. Bank records. Discrepancies in brand deals. Messages that spoke for themselves. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. Just one line that hit harder than any accusation. Some betrayals aren't loud. They're whispered through the way someone edits the truth to fit their version of love. The response was immediate. Thousands of comments poured in within the first hour. This is the most honest thing I've ever seen online. He told the truth without ever needing to insult her. This is what healing looks like. By morning, the view count hit 1.4 million. By Friday, it was the #1 trending video across YouTube and TikTok. People were stitching it, reacting to it, quoting it. News outlets picked it up. A trending thread on Reddit called it the softest revenge masterpiece of the year. And Ellie? She tried to fight it. Posted a teary-eyed video about narrative control, where she claimed I had crafted a cinematic sob story to gain followers. She accused me of emotional manipulation via editing. But her words fell flat. People remembered the receipts. They had heard her voice, seen the footage. And worse, they remembered how she'd weaponized vulnerability before. Sponsors pulled out in the following days. Collaborators distanced themselves. A major wellness brand quietly removed her from their website. Her apology tour failed before it even began. Meanwhile, I got offers, podcast deals, interviews, even a feature-length documentary pitch from a small independent studio in Brooklyn. But the one I accepted was from a publisher. A memoir, not a tell-all. A reflection, tentatively titled, Clean Break, How I Left the Lie and Found Myself. I wanted to write not about her downfall, but about what happens after betrayal. How you rebuild. How you move without bitterness. How you make peace with the fact that someone you loved was never who they claimed to be. Ellie disappeared from the spotlight in fragments. One day she posted about taking a step back to heal. A week later, she deleted 3 years of content. Then her TikTok went quiet. Someone messaged me a screenshot recently. She had rebranded again, new name, muted color palette, spiritual quotes. But the comments still haunted her. You faked love for views. You lost the one who actually loved you. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because my silence now carried more weight than her loudest performance ever had. I walked away not just clean, but whole. People always ask me now, do you regret it? They don't mean the documentary or the brand or even the silence. They mean the relationship. The years I spent building a life with someone who was performing love like it was a character on a show. And the answer? No, not anymore. Because here's the truth. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is also the thing that sets you free. In the months after everything came out, I stepped away from the spotlight. Not dramatically, just quietly. I logged out, turned off notifications, sold the house with the perfect lighting and the kitchen we never actually cooked in. I moved into a smaller place with old wooden floors and real windows that open when you turn the crank. And for the first time in years, I started living without documenting. I started painting again, nothing fancy, just watercolors. Trees, old boats, strangers in parks. I visited my brother in Colorado, met my niece properly for the first time. I sat with my dad over coffee, and he didn't ask once about TikTok. He just asked how I was sleeping. I hiked trails that didn't have cell service. Read books I'd meant to read for years. Watched a thunderstorm through the window and didn't film a single second of it. And slowly, the version of me that had been edited down to a sidekick in someone else's feed, he came back. Older, a little quieter, but whole. I still make content, now and then. But it's different. Simpler. Not built around drama or engagement spikes. Just thoughts. Conversations. Moments that feel honest. One day, months after the dust had settled, I was sitting in a bookstore. The kind of place that smells like ink and paper, not productivity. I was flipping through a book on Japanese carpentry when someone sat down across from me. No makeup, no filters. Just a real smile and a copy of the same book in her hands. We talked for over an hour. I won't say more than that, not because I'm hiding something, but because some beginnings deserve to stay gentle. She doesn't follow me online. I didn't recognize her from anywhere. It was the first time in years someone looked at me and didn't see a brand. They just saw me. And maybe that's the real healing, not finding someone new, but realizing that who you are now is enough. That you don't have to broadcast your recovery to prove you're better. That surviving betrayal doesn't make you bitter, it makes you awake. So here's what I'll leave you with. You're not broken. You're just becoming someone stronger. And strength doesn't always look like fire. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace over applause. Sometimes it looks like walking away quietly and never looking back.